Hey everyone, and welcome back. So we are going to be creating our very last project here, which is our food delivery application. And we are going to be creating so many things here, so many interactive components. They're going to be a lot of our bread and butter in this one. But I do want to remind you, please duplicate this to your drafts. That's what you're going to need to do in order to actually use this file, so remember to duplicate that. Next thing I want to get into is our assets. You will have so many assets to work with in this project. You'll have buttons, you'll have icons. We're going to actually create a lot of our own. We'll create things like, I'll show you how I created these buttons, but we'll create like tab structures, these category cards. We'll even learn how to create some pretty cool animating carousels and animating order buttons and a nice little animating status overlay. So we'll be creating a lot of components that will be used in our actual screens, and we'll be going through how to create some very simple prototypes with those components that are automatically animating, and we'll learn how to create some cool effects like masking and, more specifically, tracking order progress. So we're going to have lots of fun. Now, I do need to remind you that you are going to need some plugins. So if you want to follow along with me, I definitely want you to use Unsplash to use for imagery. It's going to really help you get anything you need when it comes to food in this case. We also have icons. So Material Design is one of my favorite icon libraries that is easily accessible and spits out great SVGs. Or Streamline Icons is another one. But that's all you're really going to need to get going here. And aside from that, everything is already ready for you. Let's jump in because I'm excited for this project. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have another project. It is our food delivery application project. So this one's going to be a fun one, I promise. We are going to be jumping into a bunch of different things here. The first thing I want to just walk you through is the buttons. But before I start, if you have this resource, which you should, you definitely need to go into your little menu up here and duplicate it. So don't forget to do that. So let me give you a little quick walkthrough of the components over here. We have our screens, our main four screens. We have tons of interactive components. Now let's focus more specifically on these components. Now I'm not going to build these buttons with you because we've built buttons so many times, and by this point you should be a pro at it, like 100% a pro. Now these buttons are essentially really easy to build. Since we're dealing with mobile only, we're not worried about hover states. So it's only going to be a default state and a press state. So just giving them a little bit of an understanding that something's been touched. Now we have two sizes of buttons. We have a large button and a small button, and we have three types. We have the default, which is our primary one. We have a secondary one, which is going to be black, and we have a tertiary one, which is going to be like a very light gray. And you can kind of see how they're used throughout. You know, you have that light gray on some of these cards here, which we'll put together. We have like the primary buttons over here, like in the checkout. And I believe we also have the secondary buttons in some of these carousels. So, you know, we're going to be displacing them, you know, everywhere and throughout some of these prototypes. So definitely keep an eye out for that as we're kind of building out some of those screens and the rest of those components, because we're going to nest some of these components there as well. So remember how I've taught you, just make variants. You're going to need three types of variants here: size, state, and type. And type being, you know, the version of here. And just link those together. You can see even within the prototypes here, you don't have to do it. You can essentially just kind of take my asset here and use it any which way you want, but it has a very quick ease out. Same thing over here. After delay, you know, we have that ease out, and we can see what that looks like here as we, you know, play around. We can take all these buttons put them over here, click a flow starting point, click play. So if we come in here, see there is no hover, just kind of like a nice little darken when you click. So, and that's essentially it. You're all button masters by now. So I'm not gonna waste your time creating buttons and buttons and buttons and having you kind of follow along with that. But another thing is that these are more rounded. So you have a 10 pixel radius on these, and that's about it. Just a simple auto layout container with some text inside, and the text, changes from 14 pixels to 16 pixels on the larger ones. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So we have another variation of a button, and I want to walk you through how I created that button as well. So that way everyone is prepared for when we actually kind of use it. So this icon button, I just used material design icons and created like a heart. I have a back button, and then I have this kind of add type check button. So we have the default state, we have that press state, we have the love empty, and then we have the love fill. So we can kind of see what that looks like as we bring these in here and test them out. You've all done this as well a bunch, where you've built some of these components. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So literally what's happening here is there is no hover. When you click, you're getting that press state that we've seen with the other buttons. And it's just like after the press state, it's after delaying back to the default. Same with this. You're getting that press state when you click, and it's just kind of moving through 4 different variants. So we start here, go to my prototype. After we click, we go to this. And because it's the press state, it automatically after delays to the default state. And then when you click on this, it goes to the press state of this one, and then automatically after delays to the default state. So really, really simple stuff. Now, the other one's a bit more complicated because we're going to use this as our button. So when you add something to cart, you have a checkbox, or like not a checkbox, but you have like a check icon. So I'm going to click it, and then it's going to go back. So it's like, oh, added. Okay, I can add it again. Oh, added, I can add it again. So it's giving the user that visual confirmation that, hey, you added something without just being something simple as just like a color change or like a slight color change like that we see with this arrow over here. It's going to be a little bit more. It's going to be that actual green big change with a check. Kind of like how you see when you like love something. So that is going to be used in one of our later components over here when we, hypothetically add like a cheese pizza or something, and, you have it added to your cart. So definitely super cool thing that we'll use afterwards. But like our traditional buttons, I'm not going to spend so much time like building these out because they're super easy at this point. You know that it's just like 2 variants. And we can take a look here once again, just so you understand, though we have the type and we have a state, whether it's default and press. So you can hypothetically name these the same. It doesn't matter. They're just different states. So you have add to cart icon, you have press state and default state, and you have like button. These ones are the only ones. You have love empty and love fill, and then you have back. And you will see those in different places. You'll see like that love, one of our pages over here. And there you go. The icon buttons are super easy. So, take a stab at them if you want. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be building the category card that we have over here, where you have like a pressed and a default state. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So it's literally just like on and off, kind of like how we have with these. And I'm going to show you how to build that. Okay, so I'm going to come over here. We're going to grab a frame. So press F. It doesn't matter what size it is right now. We'll call it category. Category card, there we go. And we can set like the border radius. I think the next thing we're going to do is, fill it with something. So we can use Unsplash. And let's say we're doing salads. So that looks really nice. Nice salad. You got so many nice veggies and fruits in there. And we're going to get another element here. So this is our rectangle. This is going to be our overlay. So I'm just going to play with that and drag it in. And this overlay is going to be set to left and right, top and bottom. It's the exact same size. And we're going to use a linear gradient on this. So that way, when we put text on the bottom here, we'll be able to see it. So we have our linear gradient. Now I'm going to press T for text and put it in. And let's just call it salad. Oops. Let's do that again. There we go. The next thing I'm going to do is make this into an auto layout container. Now that looks really funky, and there's a reason why. And that's because the linear, this overlay, let's take it out for a second. It's going to need to be set to it's going to be set to absolute positioning. So I'm going to put it in there, set it to absolute positioning. Now we're good. And it's going to be left, right, top, bottom, and we have our category card. At this point, I would just make sure that this is set to the front. And on top of that, we're going to set a property and we'll call it state. And this is going to be our press state. And remember, go to that overlay on this one. And here you can essentially just pick like a color. And that color is going to be what you're going to use to like, as your kind of overlay state. At this point, you're going to just go to your prototype tab and start linking it together. So on click, and then on after delay, like 50 milliseconds. And you can position this any which way you want. We can make another one. Let's go to Unsplash. Let's say this one's going to be dessert. Make sure that you're on the category card. So I'm selecting the category card, click, and we're in golden. There we go. Let's take a look. And there we go. We have our own category card. Super easy to do. And it looks really, really sharp. Very similar to what we have over here. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on a tab navigation. So tab items are pretty simple. What's going to happen is we're going to have maybe 4 of them, and they essentially work all in the same way. It's kind of like a toggle. So let's get to it and create it. So we have this little label here. I'm just going to call it label. And I'm going to wrap it in an auto layout frame. So because we got to make our tab item. I've already made it a component. And we're going to fill it. So we filled it with this color that we like so much. So it's just 32 pixels. So let's make sure that's set. And there we go. So we have our tab item. Go to our properties. You can work along with me. You can see how I am building it. You're going to need to see like the whole screen here because I'm, messing around with a bunch of different things. So we have our selected state and our default state, and that default state has a background like that. So what happens is when you click on this, it goes there, and when you click on this, maybe it goes there. So you can mess around. The navigation now, we can do a couple different things here. If you're building like a library of like a tab navigation, or like just like you're building a library of like a design library and stuff like that, you may want to create like a general component like this. But if you're building something super specific, you won't necessarily need to do that. You could create like a scenario, because right now, if I bring this in here, I want to show you what I mean, but it's better to kind of show it. If I put in here, like this is not how a tab navigation usually works, right? It works in a way where if you select one, you can move to the next one and so on. But, that's like, if we can set it, we could set it up kind of like how this navigation over here is set up, like the carousel. You have like 3 different options. You select one of them, moves to the next. You select the third one, moves to the third one, and so on. Now, we'll just create like a general tab navigation, but that's the easiest way to create tabs. Like you can create them in different ways. I have them as like bubbles. You can create them with like a line at the bottom. Super easy to do. And all you need to do here is like really, we can create a variation of this where it looks something like this. So bear with me. We're not going to have a fill, but the stroke on the bottom and then it could look something like this. Maybe a little bit darker. And so this navigation structure looks a bit more like understandable for us. Right? Like we've seen this one before. So if I click this, bring it into here, we see that where, you have that item. So different ways to create tab navigations. I chose to do it in the bubble way because it's just easier to hit when you're on mobile. But I'm just going to take my components that I created and just throw them up here. And that's how you create a tab navigation. Hey everyone, we are going to be creating some item cards. So let's get into it. This is going to be the item card that we want to create. Let's take a look at it. So it looks like this. Has like a little bit of an icon and stuff like that. I'm going to show you how I'm going to create it. So I'm going to press F. And let's call this card. And we'll set 10 pixels. I like to create it sometimes a little bit different. I mean, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Fixed height. We're going to get like a text in there. We can call this Cobb salad. And so we have our Cobb salad. I think this is size 16. So we're going to roll with that, size 16. And we'll call this our title, bring it down, and wrap it in a frame. So I'm just going to call this like our meta information. And this one's going to be 40 minutes or maybe 10 minutes. If we come into our plugins, let's go to material. And we can grab like a clock. Maybe that one's not good enough. Time. Boom. So you can grab a time one and let's do star. Perfect. This time, if I hold command, it's a little tricky to get this in here. So this one, I can just drag it in. Okay, let's create this card in a bit more detail now. This time is going to be like 12 pixels. Let's make it bold. This one, we can do like 20. And let's bring the star in. Get rid of this. And we can say this is like a 4.9. Now we can have a row. We could just call this our meta row with like that meta information about this. And I think that's pretty good. Maybe 16 pixels between. Make sure everything's centered. And this is going to be our container. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it my container. And then go over here, grab a small button. And we can put the price. Or we can just say add to cart. This can be done in so many different ways. Like we can also take the price and put it up here and say that this is like $14.99. And these are yellow. These are like 50%. And header, like this is our header row. So there you go. We have some information already. This larger container, the card container, doesn't need to have any space or padding between things. This is just going to fill that container, fill the container. And last but not least, let's get an image. It's going to fill both ways, fill, and we'll just call it our image and open up Unsplash. Let's grab our Cobb salad. Okay, so, I mean, maybe this one's a little more appetizing. Or whatever. And so we have that ready to go. I think the next thing is just to make sure that we have everything else set. So we have our text saying it's a Cobb salad. We have everything else. The only thing left is that we need like a drop shadow. So just remember to fill the actual card because the drop shadow won't work properly. And let's go into our drop shadow. Maybe like a blur of 20. And then there we go. So we have our own card. And, you know, putting them side by side, they both look very similar. That's how you create a nice little interactive card. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So we're going to be working on these promo cards. and they're like a little carousel. We can create them pretty rapidly, I would say, and they basically come into the picture over here on our main card. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So we're going to bring this over. So you can see. So it kind of just like fades in and these like bounce in nicely. Same thing with this one. This one comes in from the side nicely like that. So let me show you how to make those components. So these are actually pretty easy, I would say. Like we've done a lot of parallax work, so I'll start with like creating some of these other ones. Yeah, let's just actually create it together. So we have a container. We'll call this our promo. And we can just have it set up like that. It's going to be auto layout container. So it's a fixed height and a fixed width. We're going to grab another frame and put that in there and call this our image. And this will be filled and filled. And let me go to unsplash. And let's just get like a cheese pizza. So we have that set up. We don't need any spacing between things. We're going to handle that with our own containers. So there's that. The next thing I do is going to create another container. And I mean, we can probably just take these pieces of content and throw them in. So this is like my deal of the day thing. Super nice. I'm going to copy this. And let's call it our content. And I'm going to put in our promo. And we're going to press fill container, fill container. There we go. And let's go in our promo, make sure it's 0 pixel spacing. Make sure that this is large enough. Okay. Maybe 16 pixels is better. So we have our container over here. It's really simple. What we're going to do is, I'm not going to put any like background blurs. We can probably put like just like a border radius on this. I'm not putting anything like a drop shadow or anything like that. So promo, let's make a property here. And we're just going to make another copy. So when this promo comes into play, like we just want people to notice it. That's why we're kind of animating it. So in this case, this is going to be like a 0 fill. Oh, not 90%. We're going to go right down to 0. And these, since they're in an auto layout container, we can't really drag them, right? So we're going to set them to be absolute and off the screen. And then you can stagger these like that. And then you can go 0%. So what's going to happen is when I (40 milliseconds or something like that, we can like, see what we used here. I think, yeah, gentle 1200. So that's fine. We can use gentle. Let's take a look at what we have with our promo right here in comparison. So it looks really good. And there you go. That's how you essentially create these little promo cards I have here. Now, the same thing happens here. Now we have this little hand that kind of comes in. It's in a, like just a regular frame, so you can move it around. And you can see that the image here, the hand is all the way up here, but it's 0%. And we've done the same thing. Now, when it comes to actually putting these together in a little carousel, you've taken the first promo card and put it together and put it in a little container with the carousel buttons. And then you can kind of see how that works right here. Oops, let's take that and make a copy. We can remove these two because I want to show you what it looks like. I'm not going to actually create the entire carousel, and so it's just going to, like after a certain amount of seconds, moves to the next one. So really cool way for you to, just bring like promotional ideas into the app, and having like a looping animation is super, super cool. Like it doesn't take much time. As you can tell, we just did this in like several minutes. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be working on the cart button. So we have this little cart button here that's going to be featured on this kind of overlay. So I'll show you where that kind of shows up. We have this kind of image overlay, which is essentially a like pizza, right? And this pizza like carousel, you'll be able to like click through all the different states here. But we also have this one state here where like it's expanded, and you have like, this item if you add something to your cart. So I want you to see how we can create this little item. So I'm going to drag it over, and we can zoom in. So all it is like a click. It's like a little animation. So let's recreate that right here. So we have a frame. I think this is like 52 pixels. Sure, doesn't matter. We're gonna bring it over here and click it. So essentially what happens is you want to click this button and it goes to a press state. And that press state essentially brings you to your cart after it's done. So we have this button where we can, take the text and throw it in there. And this little cart, we're going to steal this too. If this can be now auto layout, and we can do like 2 pixels on the top, maybe 24 on the left hand side, open that up a bit, 2 pixels on the right. So it looks something like this. So mine's a little slightly different, doesn't matter. And what's going to happen here is, we can call this amount, and we can call this one time, and we can call this cart button. So let's make it into a component, create a variant. Okay, so let's do state. So this is our default state, and then our pressed state. And what's going to happen is when it's in its press state, it's going to shoot off like that. And it's going to be darker. Like that. So on click, be 1500 milliseconds, or sorry, 1105, 150 milliseconds. And we're going to after delay here, 50 milliseconds. Okay. Let's see the comparison between the two. So we have something that went wrong slightly. Now we can figure that out. So it's set to smart animate. Just gonna make sure that the shopping cart, yeah, so it's really far off. Now we can look at here for some inspiration, see, well, how long do we do that? So 50, 500 milliseconds. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, so what happens here is when you click, let's not do a smart animate, but let's do a dissolve backwards. So that way we're not bringing the cart back. It's just going to dissolve back into the same place rather than see that. And this one, we can extend it like 400. So very similar. I love it. And there you go. That's how you create a little add to cart button. So that's going to shoot us right to the add to cart page. I'm just going to take this component, throw it into our little component pile. We can delete the one we didn't create, press design, and bring it over here. There you go. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on the overlay. So I'm not going to build out all like the pieces here, but as you can tell, we have a nice little like auto layout frame that houses these stacked components, and then we kind of put them side by side with a 16 pixel space. So you remember when we talked about this little button, this icon button all over here. So when we were building that component out, essentially this was going to be our piece that's going to really help us figure out, okay, we've added something to our cart, give me that check mark to let me know. So we have two pieces here. We have collapsed one that has maybe some more details around calories and nutritional facts. And then we have this non-collapsed version. So they are this duplicates of one another. So we have the collapsed, uncollapsed version, and we have the press state. So something's been added to the cart, and then it goes back to normal, if that makes sense. What happens is that here within the prototypes, you click this, it opens up this state where this comes in. And I need to tell you that this is a floating action button. We just created it, and it should be sitting off to the side. In this one, it is sitting off to the side, this cart button, as you can tell. Like it's right here. It's not at 0% opacity or anything like that. It's just going to slide in. And I want to just demonstrate this one for everyone, because this is going to be a key part of our app. So let's go to our prototypes. So when you click play, when you click add, it adds it to the cart. Now it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to keep adding items, but just to simulate what that's like. So you press play, comes in nicely. And there you go. You have your own little add to cart overlay. And where this is placed is right here. So you will have the ability to kind of see that in this section. And because this is built with like a couple of properties, one being that the start of the animation, the press state, and then you have like the end state, is also built with the collapsed. Is it collapsed? Yes. And now it's not collapsed, but it does leave room for that cart if we need to. So we have that non-collapsed state and that collapsed state. And there you go. That's how you essentially create this little component. Now, the other thing I want you to know is that it has a mixed border. So you have like 35 pixels at the top on both sides. And it also has like a nice little drop shadow on it. So that way when it appears, like you can see from behind that it's like overlaying. Also, let's take a look at some of the other things we can build into it. So right now, it's based off of drag. So if we go into here, we should be able to drag it. Let's get a new frame for this. And that's our flow 2. For some reason it's not working. Let's see if it's actually connected properly. Okay. Demonstrated on here. And, you can drag it nicely. And all those pieces are something that you can interact with. And there you go. Honestly, this is one of the easier components to build. You're literally just creating a small version and then a larger, longer version. And you can apply the on drag to kind of make it go from one state to the other. And then the click state over here, clicking brings up this, then after delays into here. And that's the quickest way to make something like this. Hey everyone, and welcome back. I want to teach you all how to create this cool overlay. Let's actually get a copy of it so that way I can show you how exactly it functions. So I'm going to drag it into here and press play. So it's going to be kind of like a GIF. So if I just come over here, if we look, we're going to create this little bubble that we're seeing. So when somebody's matching with an order, or when you're seeing like your order like updates and all that, you're going to see this state of, it's processing, and then, the driver is driving or the restaurant's preparing your order. So let's create the first part of this overlay, which is going to be essentially these status icons. So I'm actually just we can start from scratch here. So I'm just going to grab these icons, and you can too. And the way I've created this is, so I'm just going to command shift, I have option command B, which will detach the instance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create new icon sets here, and select them all, make sure that they're all spaced out nicely. And I'm going to put a background on here. Let's take the background off. Oh, because they are white, that's why. So that's not going to work. So the first property we're going to create is type property. So if we take a look here, we have type, which is delivered, process, we have processing, order, the courier, order being prepared. So we'll create type, and whether it's in progress, and whether it's complete. So in progress is the yellow, and complete's white. So let's create that. So type, we have order confirmed. We have preparing order. So I'm just going based off of, what these are. We have courier, And then the last one is delivered. So we have those 4 states. Next, we're going to create another property, which is called in progress. And everything is false because these are not in progress. They're like waiting to be in progress. So we'll bring these down and we'll make them all 100% and yellow. So in progress, true. And then we'll make another one. And we'll create another variant. But first, I'm going to make them all white. So let's go to our component properties, make a new variant. Let's just say this one's going to be complete. Everything's going to be false. These ones are going to be true. And there we go. We have this portion ready. Now, the next part is this status, these status dots. So they have the same thing. It's complete, in progress, and animation. So this is like an end animation, and animation 1, 2, and 3, and then it loops. So if we take a look, it goes after delay from here to here, then from here to here, and so on. So let's create these dots. So we have about, these are about, let's see what size are 2 pixels, and the big ones are about 4 pixels. Okay. So I'm just going to create a copy and detach that instance and make a new component. And so same kind of deal here. What we're going to do is put these together, and they're going to be complete, in progress, and then animation. So we have this one is going to be in progress. No, it's not going to be complete either. So it's going to be false. Now we can do this one is true because it's going to be in progress. And let's grab a color. It's going to be yellow. And then this one is going to be false for in progress. And it's going to be true for complete. And it's going to be white. Now, here's where the magic comes in. We are going to make sure this is not an auto layout container. And we're going to bump up the size. So I believe it, I used 4 pixels. So this is animation 1, animation 2, and animation 3. And now we're going to just string these together because during the in progress state, we're going to have a lot of stuff going on. So 300, and I want to make sure it's smart animate. And then this one's going to loop all the way back to the top here. And there you go. We have our divider, status, we'll call them status dots. And these are status icon. Okay, so we'll leave it at that and we'll come back to this in our next video. Hey everyone, we created some status icons together and status dots. Now the next thing is we're putting them in this kind of status container. So what I'm going to do is there's going to be so many different states here. So I'm going to just grab them and put them together. And we'll just call this our status, just a status. So they're going to be about 12 pixels separated. And now we can just start placing some of these items in there. Oops. And essentially the way it works is first, your order is confirmed. And then after that, then once it's confirmed, you have like it's complete. So the complete turns white, this line turns white, and then it's the restaurant's preparing the order. So a couple different things we need to worry about. Like we just need to go through all 4 states here. So let's do that. So we could just say state. This one's order confirmed. And if I create another one, so this one can be, now it's complete. This one's complete. This one's in progress. So we'll call this one preparing order. And this one is courier. So now then this one's going to be complete. This one is complete. Now this one is in progress. So I like creating a lot of these components first and then nesting them into other components, because now I can change these and it'll just update everywhere. And then lastly, we have delivered, which is just going to be like, this state. So complete. And there you go. We have our status icons ready to go. Now we have this kind of like overlay that we've created. And at this point, you could create like a whole overlay container where you throw these items in, right? If we take our icons and put them in there, now we have this kind of beautiful little area here. And the way I've created it, I'm not going to create it all over again here, but I have like processing order, and now order is being prepared. So just letting the user know that's like, this is what's happening. And sometimes when the order is being prepared, you have your courier that's already kind of matched with you. So I have this section that pops up, and now like Jane is, your courier, and she's picking up the order, and Jane is on their way. So sometimes things may change, and then Jane left your order at the door. So your order has been delivered. So let's take a look at what ours looks like here. I'm just going to delete that. But at this point, you should have had the overlay ready to go. We're going to take a look at our prototype. And so, you should have your little kind of loader over here just going one after the other. And it looks so smooth, especially when you're just showing off some prototypes or demos. This is such a nice way to create some, loopable animations. And there you go. You have your status overlay. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So at this point, now we've created so many components, and maybe you've felt a little bit ambitious and you started creating your own components instead of using just the ones that have been provided for you. Either way, that's totally fine, totally up to you. But I wanted to go through creating some of these prototypes. And the first one I wanted to create is this automatic parallax carousel because it's fun. If you've went ahead and created this whole carousel by yourself, like, good for you. That is great. But if you haven't and you just created like the first component that we used, that's fine as well. So we can just take our home page and you can stick that component in there if you'd like. And we don't need to use that component. You can use whichever one you used. So another thing is, let's actually go to that prototype and take a look at what that looks like when we actually have the carousel. So you can see like it already kind of loads in automatically because it is that interactive component. And, you know, at this point, you can even interact with the components that are nested within. But it's such a nice way for you to easily have something interactive on the page kind of going by itself. So literally when you're creating something like this, let's fix the height. I think I have, what's the height on these? These are 852, so we're going to do the exact same thing here. So I just threw the one that we created in there. So we have it over here. We can create a flow starting point, automatic carousel. And if we press play, that should come up for us. And so there we go. We have ours that we created. It looks just as good. The only thing is it's not looping, right? We don't have a carousel where we have like two items going back and forth, or maybe like more than two items, maybe like 3 or 4, kind of like a deal thing or like your daily specials or something. So, but I think this is great. Like, it's just a great way for you to kind of get used to, you know, using some of these interactive components to create some of these like mini things or these mini experiences within like a greater like experience like this. And there you go. That's how you create just like an automatic prototype or an automatic carousel prototype. Hey everyone, and welcome back. I want to teach you how I built this tab list transition. But before I do that, I want to just demo it to you first. So I'm in my demos over here. I have my tab list transition selected, and you can do this in a couple different ways, and I hooked it up in a couple different ways. So that way it's easy for you to understand how it works. So you can either click on these tabs, you can scroll them if you want, but if you click like healthy, we have this whole section that comes in, or if you drag back and forth, you know, these sections are also easily, you know, easily accessible. Now, how do you do this? So we've done a lot of work with dragging, and we've done a lot of work with like, you know, these kind of gentle transitions and smart animate. We all know that with smart animate, you really need to make sure layers are properly named so that way they work properly. Even with things like if you're just going to use like push and stuff like that. So let's just look at the most basic example. On this interaction here, when you click healthy, we're going to move to this screen. We're just pushing the content out. And this means that this content is being pushed left when this is selected. And I have it animating smart matching layers. Let's take a look at the design. So if I look at the design, and I see this one is called grid 1. This one is called grid 2. If it were to be called grid 1, it would only dissolve instead of actually sliding in a new piece of content like we see here. We see new cards coming in. Everything else stays the exact same because they're all named the exact same. So you need to make sure that not only that the layers are exactly where they are within both of these larger frames, but that they're named differently if you want them to be pushed, or, if you want like new grids to come in this case. The other thing is I have another interaction. I have a drag interaction that is the exact same interaction that we see over here. So not only do we click and bring it over, we can drag and bring it over too, back and forth. And there you go. That's how you create a really easy tabless transition like this. It's not super hard. You just need to make sure that things are named differently from page to page. But that if you want them to stay the same, they're named the same. So if I didn't want this to slide in per se and named it grid 1, we may get an animation that looks like that, which isn't bad. Like this looks nice as well. I wouldn't use on drag because you're not really dragging content, but this looks great as well. It just is using the fill to change the actual image on the cards. And there you go. That's how you create a tabless transition. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on masking and overlay. So what I want to happen here is when I click something like, if I click on like the cheese pizza, I want to open it up and make sure that, we have a nice kind of image coming from there. We've done this in other lessons as well, but let's see how this looks over here for this image. So in this case, if I click buy now on my carousel, it's going to open up that pizza. And we see how that pizza kind of comes through. And then this comes in, and if I go back, it kind of goes around. So that's pretty cool. Now, this is going to take actually like breaking out your components a bit in order to do something like this. Now, I want to take a look in depth on how these layers are named. So we have promo carousel. Let's look at our structure here. We have the masking overlay, right? We have body, and we have promo carousel. Those are the ones we're going to go look for. We have promo image. Let's open this up a little bit. Promo image card. We have our image. In this case, I had to break out this component a bit and rename things. So I still have the same thing here. I have our body, right? That matches here. I have the promo carousel, another frame. And all the frame is doing is it's not really doing anything. It's just like another container. So that way things match up. I have promo image card and I have my image. Then when I go from this page to this page, I'm literally just bringing in the rest of the stuff. Like I'm bringing in the carousel navigation. I have the overlay pop up. So if we do it again, so everything just kind of appears. All these items appear nicely. This kind of slides up and I'm able to, do what I need to do with it. And there you go. Like literally, you just need to make sure that all the layers are matching properly. So in this case, like I said, promo carousel, promo image card, image. And it should work like that, where you have this image that grows and shrinks back. And that's how you make sure that you can kind of create that masking principle that we've seen in the motion design principles that we talked about. When that container is covering it and now opening it up, so that way you're kind of digging deeper into this. Hey everyone, welcome back. We are going to be going through and walking through these card transitions. So A lot of this stuff has been built already. This overlay over here, if we go back to our assets, we worked on it a bit where we talked about how to build this button and what does that mean for the actual overlay over here and how that was built. So, having a collapse state versus a non-collapse state and so on. Now, when we go into our add to cart section over here, let's make sure that we're filling the screen. We have like this on drag and you can add to cart. So that's the first step. Like, you can add things to cart, but what happens if you actually want to click this? Where does that go? So in this case, you can access it, I think, from two different places. I'm just going to pull down this sidebar so we can see more. So adding something to cart. Now, if I click it, then I'm opening another overlay. So let's go to our prototypes because I want to show you, we've worked with overlays as well. And we have two different prototypes here. We have cart transition 1 and cart transition 2. And with those two, the difference is that you have the floating action button always available to you. And you can always access your cart easily. Now with cart transition 2, we have it coming up from the bottom over here, and you can, drag it down. This overlay essentially is this button just essentially clicking the overlay. So let's use this one over here. So I'm going to grab a copy of this overlay. And literally all we're doing here is, on click, we're going to navigate. We're not navigating anywhere. We're opening the overlay and it's going to be bottom center. So it means it's going to be like attached to the bottom and it's going to add a background of 60%. It's not going to be instant. I want it to move in from the bottom. Just move in from the bottom and it's going to be a little bit of a gentle, like kind of bump. So it's going to look nice. And, we could make it even like shorter than 800, but I think that's fine. And we have like some items over here, some interactions where, if you click back, it closes the overlay, or if you on drag, you can close the overlay as well. So let's take a look. I'm just going to create a flow starting point. It's going to be called flow 1. Let's click play. There we go. So we have our button here, a beautiful button. And if we click it, this overlay comes in. We can drag it down, on this overlay. On this overlay, you can do different things like, probably add cheese pizza. We haven't done all the interactions here, which is totally fine. But, we see a little bit of a breakdown of what's happening. And clicking back brings it away or hides it. So with that being said, it's a really, really nice way to just add like an overlay for your cart so users can easily see what their cart is. I don't think you need like maybe a dedicated page. You could, depending on how complex the system is, but I think this will be sufficient in most cases. And there you go. That's how you create a very easy cart transition. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on the order progress prototype. So I want to demonstrate what I've done here and walk you through how it's been completed, because this is a quite complex prototype. It's not necessarily super complex, just that look how many screens we have in order to actually get this one out the door. Now we have a lot of these components that we created, which are great because we don't need to make sure they're we don't need to worry about them so much. And if we go to our assets, we have a bunch of them. Like we have the first one, and they're named processing order being prepared. And sometimes the text changes, like Jane is picking up your order, Jane is on the way. So I've labeled them, in the best way possible over here. But the issue is that we can't necessarily create a component for all of these kind of states where we're drawing a line or the courier is like driving to somewhere. But let's see how it looks. So over here, we're processing the order. We see the order is being prepared. Now the driver is driving. So you see all the frames. This is already like 2 or 3 frames from here to here. That's a 4th frame, a 5th frame. So it's drawing the line. And they're kind of driving all the way. And, trying to mimic, stopping and all that. And then Jane left your order at the door. And there you go. The order is complete. Now, the thing that I've been working on here, you don't have to press anything. We're using all after delays. So you could see that it's all ease out 300 milliseconds, and we're making sure that we have this map container. And this map container is heavily dependent on making sure that these items are properly placed. So we have a home icon, we have a map icon over here. It's called map icon, but you can call it something else like courier. Like here, I've named it courier. And so it's moving around from piece to piece, and you can set whatever works for you. Like over here, I use like after a delay of 500 milliseconds. So maybe they're kind of stopped here. There's like a 4,000 millisecond ease out where it's very slow, right? And then from here, we have another slight delay because they're making that turn. We don't want it to be like shooting really quickly. Then there's another 4,000 delay. 4,000 millisecond interaction. And then at this point, we change screens. That's the only thing that's happening here. So it can be rather quick, like a fade out. And over here, we're doing the same thing. This is essentially the same, but this fades out, so it can be rather quick. And now we do like a zoom out of the map. So we make sure that it's back to normal. So with that being said, if you're going to attempt building something like this, I'd keep it very simple. This is rather complex, and don't use anything like horizontal rules. Use like rectangles to build your lines. Just because they play nicely in animations, and rules really don't. So we have this kind of rule that's happening over here, which is hidden over here. So you can kind of see how this rule is, it's over there already. And it grows. And then this one is already here as well, but it has a pass through of 0%. And it grows. So we can kind of see how that looks, so you can get a better sense. So you can see how it kind of grows and gains like opacity. So it's like that line's going, and there we go. And at this point, the line kind of disappears at the same time. So I would really analyze this prototype in depth, because there's little pieces you'll think, oh, nothing's happening on the screen, but you need to be very cognizant of what exactly, like which layers are being hidden, which layers aren't, especially if you want to create a nice little order delivery. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have another assignment. Okay, try and create and design a full food delivery app. I mean, let's think about the other pages. Create some interactive form components for all parts of the app that require interactions. Things like your navigation, things like what we've created, and build from there. And if you're feeling really ambitious, try thinking about what happens when you want to maybe review an experience after your food is delivered. That's a very, very interesting part of the app that we haven't thought about yet. And if you followed along and were building along with us, you're a little bit ahead. But if you want to go at your own pace, that's totally fine, because you can take everything you learn and do the same. So remember, share your work with us on Discord, and please don't let me forget to say this, join our private online community on Discord. I promise you that this is one of the best resources from ZTM. We have other students, mentors, and even instructors like myself that are always willing to help if you have a question, just want to share your work, or want to have a great discussion. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So I'm going to show you in this next section how you can use Cap and Screencastify to screen record your prototypes. So if you have Mac or if you're using Windows product, it doesn't matter. You'll have two options at your disposal for creating some high fidelity screen captures that you can put on your website to share with others, or just to share them with a link if you want to even get feedback. So this is going to be great for everyone that's interested in sharing those prototypes afterwards. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So you may be wondering, we have so many cool prototypes, but we do not know how we're going to get those into our website and show them off to our prospective clients and employers. And we have this great little product called Cap. So if you're on a MacBook, or if you're on an Apple product, Cap is going to be the go-to for you if you want something that's just really high quality. This is the website. You can get Cap. I use it for all mine. You can export it as a GIF, MP4, many files that are going to be really good. It captures really high quality. And essentially that's what it is, a screen capture tool. And you can essentially, create that destination, create like a GIF, and have it ready to go, easy to use. But I just want to show you the website. Lots of people use this. I know lots of companies. I have lots of friends that are working in FANG companies that use this just to easily show off to other people, especially when you're trying to get customer buy-in or when you're trying to get team buy-in. Super helpful. So in our next video, I'll go over how to use it, and that way you will know how to use it too. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So if you've already used Cap and gotten it set up and everything, you should have it up here in your toolbar. And what I've done is I'm currently in my prototype, and I have the purple background set for this prototype because it looks super cool. The only thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure that I don't show the hotspots on click, and I'm not going to show any Figma UI. So it's going to look like this. Now I'm going to click Cap to start it up, and I'm going to essentially just crop it. So I'm going to pick like a nice cropping area here for me. So I'm going to press play, and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to interact with it like I would be. And then I'm going to move up here and press stop. So now I have my little thing here. So we can actually start by clipping it like this, by dragging. So I'm going to start like this. Boom, 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 and boom. And that's it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually export this as a GIF. So you can select down here. It's going to be 60 FPS. So that's the frames per second. I'm going to save it to disk, and I'm going to convert it. So at this point, you can, select where you want to. I'm going to say, I'm going to put this on my desktop. I'm going to click save, and I'm just going to wait now for that to work. It's going to convert. It shouldn't take too long. And there we go. The export's complete. And I can close this. At this point, you can either close it and have it be like part of your library of just captures. But I can come here. So do I want to discard this? Let's say, yeah, sure, I'm going to discard it. So I'm going to come to my desktop over here, and now I can view it. And look how beautiful that looks. And now you can use Cap to essentially show off all of your designs and crazy cool prototypes. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So you may be wondering, well, if I'm not on Windows, what can I use to figure out how I can, share my GIFs and my videos and my prototypes, all that? So Screencastify is one of the best Chrome plugins to use. I promise you this plugin's amazing. I'm on the website right now. Just want to show you what you can do here. You can do a lot of things, like you can cast like your screen and stuff like that. But I've used it in the past to use it to essentially capture my screen in such a great, easy way and make GIFs from them. And they do a really good job of ensuring that what you capture is really, really high quality. And you can do a couple different things like adding text to the video if you want and stuff like that. But I'm going to bring you through how you can essentially create your own captures of your prototypes. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be getting our screen capture of our prototype. So I have my Figma prototype loaded up within my Chrome browser. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my browser over here and click this, and I'm going to click a browser tab over here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm pressing Command or Control and backslash. And what's going to happen is I won't have the ability to, see the Figma UI. So do that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to restart recording. So I'm going to come over here. And then I'm going to come up here and press stop. And so there we go. We have our recording. It looks quite nice. At this point, you can like export your video, or you can trim. So you can select right here. And so I don't want to go and have that part showing. So I'm just going to stop it here. Save that trim. So it's going to trim my video. So it should only take like a couple seconds. And then you can copy that share link, or you can export that video as a GIF. So say I want to make a pretty large export. So we'll wait till that exports for us. And once it's done, just click download GIF. So I'm going to download it to my desktop. And there you go. We should be able to view that GIF if we want. And if I go over here, press spacebar, we have a pretty nice GIF of our interaction. And that's how you use Screencastify to grab some nice, pretty high quality GIFs. You can also download the file if you want, like the core file. But essentially, that is how you use Screencastify to do that.
Hey there. I wanted to take a second at the end of it all, at the end of your learning journey, to just say this one thing, and that is, thank you. I know your time is valuable. We have limited time on this earth, and you decided to spend your time and your money, frankly, with us, doing something that takes a long time to learn. So truly, from the bottom of our hearts, I know it sounds cheesy, but thank you for dedicating your time and effort to this course. I hope you got what you wanted out of it, and congratulate yourself for getting this far, because a lot of people have hopes of learning, but they give up along the way. But you didn't do that. You worked through the challenges, the problems, and you got here. Now, your learning journey doesn't end here. It keeps going. But I hope this created a foundation for you to go off and learn things on your own, get a promotion, get hired, start a new business, whatever it may be. Again, thank you and best of luck with your learning journey. this is just the beginning of whatever you decide to do in the future. So thank you and good luck.